What is going on, everyone? It is your boy CJR Sports, and today we're coming back to you with another news video. More than any other day in the NFL for give or take almost the last month, this has been the biggest news day so far, and we're just gonna get right into it. But first, if you haven't seen my first video when I kind of break down my live reaction of the Baker Mayfield trade, go check that out and then come right to this video. We're going to briefly talk about it if you haven't seen the video. But to start off, Cleveland Browns quarterback Baker Mayfield, not the Browns quarterback anymore, was traded to the Carolina Panthers for a 2024 compensatory 5th round pick. So a lot of moving parts have recently came out kind of about how this trade and how everything kind of opened up. The first thing, we talked about yesterday was that the Seattle Seahawks were not interested in Baker Mayfield. They were only interested in Baker Mayfield if he came available through free agency, so he had to be cut or released by the Cleveland Browns. That's when Seattle was interested. They were not going to give up future draft capital for Baker Mayfield. So that's one. And the other thing is the Carolina or the Panthers always kept a door open for Cam Newton to return, just like they did last year. Halfway through the season, Cam rejoined them. I don't want to say we, but I personally thought that Cam would also become a Panther again this year and kind of back up Sam Darnold as Matt Corral is learning the offense. That's kind of what my thought process was going to be. And then we come out this morning and saying that the Panthers are really eyeing in on Baker Mayfield. And then I believe it was either noon or 11 o'clock, we get the tweet from Ian Rappaport that Baker Mayfield is the new quarterback of the Panthers, which was wild to me. I didn't think it would happen right now, but it kind of helps out. A couple weeks before training camp, they can get it. He can get in there. Work with the guys. I know someone that has already had to come out about it and talk about his recent tweet, and then had to come up and say something else, was Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was someone that was not a couple months ago when it was reported that the Panthers were interested in acquiring Baker Mayfield. He put a comment on Instagram saying no with 15 O's and that he did not. And then that's kind of how the narrative got brought up, that Robbie Anderson did not want or did not think Baker Mayfield was a quality quarterback. And so as everything kind of progressed, as Baker Mayfield became a Panther, the narrative saying that Robbie Anderson is going to either request a trade, retire, or he's just not going to work well with Baker Mayfield. And so Robbie Anderson also had to put a tweet about his thoughts of Baker joining the Carolina Panthers. And his exact tweet, and I'll read it, is, "I don't have any issue with Baker. Stop trying to paint that narrative." That's what he said. But a month ago, he was the one saying, no, I don't want Baker Mayfield. And now he's saying, I don't got an issue with him. It can be two things. It's either that he was sticking up for Sam Darnold, no, I don't want to trade for Baker Mayfield because I trust in Sam Darnold. I believe in Sam Darnold. Or this is a bunch of BS and that he doesn't want Baker Mayfield to be the quarterback, to be his quarterback. And then now the Browns general manager, the one that traded for Deshaun Watson, the one that wanted to try to immediately after Baker Mayfield said, I want to request a trade, they said, we're not going to do that. And then he comes out and says, we wish Baker well as he continues his football career. And then he also came out and said that he will be remembered almost as a legend and Cleveland for giving them that playoff win and that playoff appearance that they so desperately needed over the last 25 years. And so, that's a big statement from the general manager that just traded him for a 5th rounder just to get him out the door. They traded for not even next year's 5th round pick. 2 years. That 5th round pick that it could turn into whoop-de-doo a 4th round pick, which I'm all about draft picks. I think draft picks are the best way to build your team personally. But wow, a starting quarterback that the Browns are paying almost $11 million for him not to be on the roster this year. Wow. I mean, you really, the Panthers swindled the Browns for sure. It was either that, I mean, if it wasn't the Panthers, they were probably just going to release him and they weren't going to get anything for him to begin with. So, kudos to the Panthers. I mean, kudos for the Browns first to actually letting him go. There was definitely a thought in my head where Baker was going to have to sit out and not play football at all this year and have to waste out his contract and have to be a career backup. At least he gets one more shot, one more opportunity to be a starter for the Panthers. And kudos to the Panthers for giving him that shot, paying him, I believe, only $3.5 million this year for his current salary from the 11 or 10 he's getting from Cleveland. And he can gain up to $5 million with some bonuses that the language was changed out of his contract. So, well, at least Baker gets one more shot before, he can have a career at being a career backup. But some other news, longtime Chicago Bear defensive tackle Eddie Goldman signed a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. So the NFC South is getting much stronger, and Jordan Schultz was the first one on that, by the way. I mean, kudos to the NFC South kind of gaining some talent, especially when Drew Brees leaves, Sean Payton leaves, the Saints. I mean, it's a very open division, especially when Tom, if he decides to retire after the end of the season. That division is wide open, so maybe the Panthers did the correct move in getting Baker, and maybe he is the answer, because there is a realistic possibility where they finish second in that division. They have a half-decent defense. I like Matt Rule. I think he's really fighting for his life right now, but there is a realistic possibility where they finish second in the division, which is mind-boggling to me. Talking about the Bears, or actually, let's keep in the division first. Mike Evans came out today, or yesterday, said that he wants to be remembered as a Hall of Famer. He already has a Super Bowl ring, so he acquired that. He achieved that with Tom Brady and that super team during the COVID year. And then now he comes out and says that he hopes Gronk's returns, to the Tampa Bay Bucks, but it seems like he is quite done with football. So, I mean, if you're inside the building and that's what you're saying, that, us outsiders can say, Gronk's going to come back, week 10, week 12 on a healthy body and play with Tom in the playoffs. And, in the building, they really think that Gronk is not going to play. Then he's probably not going to play. And he's probably officially done with football. He unretired, got $10 million, won a ring, got another $10 million, went to the divisional. What else can you ask for the guy? So I think especially that rib injury that he had last year really just I think he was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm done. I have things that I can do outside of football, off the field that I have going right now that I don't want to get myself hurt. I can make money outside of it, which is for the end, he knew it was his time to retire. It was his end, and, he's going out healthy, which is good for him. I'm proud of Gronk. Again, last thing in division. So we talked about the Panthers, the Falcons, the Bucks. Now we're going to talk about the Saints. Technically, a former Buck, Jameis Winston, posted a video on his Instagram of him doing throwing drills without his left knee brace, which is big because the Bucks were the team that tore his ACL, but that doesn't matter. ACL tear, and he's, in July, he's able to kind of take the knee brace off, throw, and see what he can do mechanically with his lower half Of course, you need your lower half to be able to throw, a tight spiral to get, your lower and upper half have to be in sync. If your lower half is way too fast, you're gonna sail the ball. If your lower half is way too slow, that's when you start having, the crazy accuracy, and the ball start dipping lower and lower. That's when you start underthrowing it. You have to have your upper body and lower half to be in sync. And so I think he's slowly trying to work on that. I mean, he throws a good deep ball. It was always that underneath stuff where he kind of struggled with. And when he learned from Drew Brees that that sometimes you don't have to take these shots and everything. So it's I'm excited to see what Jameis does. He got kind of an extension, or like re-signed this offseason for a couple more years, so we're going to see what he does with the Saints, and if the Saints decide that he is the future of their franchise after Drew Brees, of course. The Washington Commanders, we already knew that Terry McLaurin signed that 3-year, $71 million extension, but they officially announced it this morning, and immediately him leaving the facility after signing, he was flying to California to do a workout session with Carson Wentz and the rest and a few of his offensive teammates, which is good. I mean, we're seeing Dallas do that, Washington do that. I bet you those were just reported. I bet you there's so many other teams that are doing mini workouts and everything like that. It's good, especially with McLaurin needing to get some work in with Carson that they haven't worked with work with each other yet. So that's big. To get them on the same page for the future, and especially with an NFC that's kind of wide open. There's not a clear-cut number one. I think you can say either the Eagles or the Cowboys can be the clear-cut number one. I've seen people think that the Giants could be the team like the Bengals from last year, and people are already counting Washington out. So maybe Washington comes back and plays like they did in the back half of 2 years ago when they went to the playoffs and almost beat the Bucks when the Bucks won the Super Bowl in 2020. So we talked about that. Something I found interesting is when a couple months ago when the Bears spent some money on some land in Arlington, and they were definitely gonna try to make a move to Arlington. And today, Chicago came out and said that they're really considering putting a dome over Soldier Field, but the only way that they're going to do that if the Bears decide to stay in Chicago and not move to Arlington. Do I see this happening? I think calling anything besides the Chicago Bears is going to be really weird. I think they'll do everything in their power to keep the Bears in Chicago. So I hope they put a dome or retractable roof, whatever, turf, whatever they want to do, onto the grass and, onto the roof. But I think that would be the best case scenario, is just to keep the Chicago Bears and not the Arlington Bears and change that all. I think that would be the best case scenario for football, because the Chicago Bears are one of the oldest franchises in the NFL, and so I don't think you want to change that from the Chicago to Arlington. And kind of to circle back to the main topic of today, of course, was the Baker Mayfield trade. As the Seahawks came out after when Baker was traded that they are rolling with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. That the Seattle Seahawks are rolling with Geno Smith and Drew Lock as their starting quarterbacks. By the way, they are rolling with Geno Smith and Drew Lock. They did not draft a quarterback. They did not sign a quarterback. They traded for Drew Lock, and they re-signed Geno Smith, and they decided that that's who they're going to roll with this year. And so yesterday I kind of talked about, like, the Seattle Seahawks are in this really weird spot of their organization. When they trade away Russ, when they, haven't extended DK, they release Bobby Wagner. Like, they're in this really awkward and weird spot in their franchise. Like, what should they do? They extend Quadron Diggs. They traded 2 first-round picks a couple years ago for Jamal Adams. They extend him. They let Shaquille Griffin walk in free agency. Like, there's some really questionable decisions that's really gone on. and they haven't really hit on their draft picks. I mean, LJ Collier has been really a bust. I mean, they have high hopes and Jordan Brooks to take over that Bobby Wagner role. They didn't have a first-round pick this year. They had Charles Cross and then Kenneth Walker, so they're really hoping to hit. In the years past, when I'm talking about like LJ Collier, and there's another player in mind, Rashad Penny was another one that's been injured consistently. They just haven't hit with these early round picks as they used to when they had the Legion of Boom and everything like that. So the Seattle Seahawks are in a really weird spot of their organization. If they really trust Geno Smith to be the starting quarterback in that very hard division, or they trust Drew Lock to be the starting quarterback. All the reports are saying that Geno Smith is leading he's winning the starting role right now in minicamp and OTA. So it's very interesting what's going to happen moving forward with the Seattle Seahawks. But guys, thank you so much for watching this little news break that's happened over the last probably 10-12 hours. But if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and if I missed any big news that you guys think, and your thoughts on the whole Baker Mayfield trade and who won. I think it's obvious that the Panthers won, but we're going to see by the end of the season who won the trade. And subscribe to the channel if you enjoy all this NFL content. I'm trying to put as much as I possibly can. This will be my 5th video today, so if you can leave a like and subscribe, that would be much appreciated. But hope you guys enjoy. It's your boy, CJR Sports, and I'm out. Peace, guys.